when suddenly Beyonce was wearing that for a tour, I could see all the posters, and she's like, she's in my motorbike. She's using the motorbike. And it was so exciting to see, And Lady Gaga, she was using the metal in her paparazzi. Mugler, you had to do so many fittings before. I mean, for the metal robot, I think I did 10 fittings because it's all made in chrome. So they had to do this molding of my whole body before. And I have this, so they did the molding with the corset to cut it out afterwards from my body. And then they would use this molding to create the chrome bustier and everything exactly shaped after the hip size or whatever. And of course, chrome is not very elastic. So I remember I was always bruised one way or another after wearing that outfit. 10 fittings. We didn't even get paid, but I'm so grateful that those are memories and iconic pieces that when they were created, we didn't know that. Of course, there were superstars models that have that you almost expected them to have an attitude because they were supermodels. There was a clear hierarchy. The later you could come for hair and makeup, the higher you were in the hierarchy. So the call time would kind of judge how important you were. If you get an early call time, you were low down. You had to wait longer. This is actually one of the products we're developing now. And I get them in these kind of boring tubes. This is the first round we're doing of a cleansing gel. And they send it to me. I give them some references of what I like or what I would like to have. And then my Susanne, who's the name of my formulator for this product, she sends me the first draft. The new product is about 1.5 to 2 years. So it's nothing new. We don't just buy a formula and put my name on it. We develop it from scratch. The fashion shows were live. They were always, it was happening right there and then. And I always found that nerve that excited me. It was something at a photo shoot, you would, shoot a picture and that would be produced maybe a couple of months later. But this was the tension, the nervousness. The designers were always, of course, very nervous, stressed. Everyone, it was the moment, 20 minutes that I had to portrait their whole collection. And I really enjoyed that. I did. To get thrown into the fashion industry, just because you're a model, that doesn't mean you know anything about the industry. I came from the south of Sweden, a small city called Huskvarna, Jönköping. And then you end up at Rue at Chanel. And I couldn't really understand what I was ending up because I didn't know anything about the industry. So today, when I look back at what I did, I appreciate even more what I was going through and all the privileges that I had to be able to work with these amazing designers and their fashion, the high fashion, the couture, the seamstress, and to be part of that. I'm forever grateful. Thierry Mugler, who I really worked a lot with, and knowing Thierry Mugler's design, it was spectacular. He would tell you, yeah, you are this robot, and you're going to do a little bit of striptease of this suit, and then you're going to be like a Marilyn Monroe pinup robot, and I want you to walk out with this little robot next to you that will come out on stage. And when he was talking, you were like, what is he? But he did it, and he really wanted to give you the pieces that he could see you work. And I think, so when he sketched the robot, or he really already thought about the model, like who would be wearing this one. Every designer, of course, had the way they wanted to present their collections. Gianni Versace, the same thing. He would like to have this power women that were very forward-leaning, with confidence on a catwalk with all light on the model and the clothes. It was all about that. And I remember he didn't like us to play too much, not like a Mugler, but he was wanting that energy of a strong supermodel. He was the one creating the supermodels. I think he was the one starting to book all these print models, paying them a huge amount of money to do the runway shows. And after that, it all took off with the supermodel era. I was never a muse for Gianni Versace, but I was working with him for many years. And I remember Donatella, who was always by his side, she once said to me, because I never got the best outfits, they always gave that to Claudia or Linda or Christy or Naomi. So I never got the most exciting outfits. But then I remember that Donatella said to me one day, it's incredible with you, Emma, because even if I put you in not the most exciting, they always sell. They sell in Germany. The buyers always buy what I put on you. So the reason why they keep on booking me, it wasn't because I was their favorite model. Obviously, I was selling. And to work with a designer like Karl Lagerfeld, who would do so many collections at the same time. At Chanel, it was an incredible energy coming up to Rue Cambon, because at his fittings, you would go in there, you would put on the outfit, you would go into this room that was blasted with music, all the bags, the accessories were lying there on tables, and he would sit there. If that was Leon Talley or if it was Anna Winter next to him, they would be there during the fittings. And while you put your outfit on, they would like put the boots on, and what about the hat? And they would try the earrings, and no, not those ones. And it was like they were throwing things on you, and you would end up, if you remember those motorbike looks, we had that, all the chains and the leather and everything. And that was created in that moment. And they took the Polaroid, and that was the look for the show. So you would start off with like a small classic Chanel suit that would turn into a motorbike dream. So a fitting for Dior with Monsieur Ferret, who was designing at that point, Gianfranco Ferret. It was a total different, it was quiet. No one could talk. As a model, you should just be, he was zip it was like you don't move. And you had to kind of get into what feeling all the designers had. You have to be very adjustable, because it was their universe you had to enter and understand. And then we also lost Claude Montana. He was also an amazing designer. What he did for Lanvin, for the haute couture, was iconic pieces. It was lovely working for him. He was also one of those designers that was very precise with his outfit. He had a lot of really beautiful lines, and he would, during the fittings, he would pose the way he wanted you to pose. He would put his hand on the side, and he would show you have to show the line of this one. And I think that's why it worked so well maybe with me, because once again, my dancing background helped me a lot in my work when it came to my modeling. When in front of the camera, it was a lot of energy and jumping, and I was always on my way somewhere. My show was not very still. And for the designers that wanted movement or shape, not everyone could do that. And so that was also one of the reasons I think that I got to work a lot with Claude Montana. I will never forget, in the middle of the night, the fitting would be 1 o'clock at night, and you were so tired, and he would be standing there choosing the buttons. And he would have this huge plate with all these different buttons, and he would try one, and then he had you walk. And then like, no, not this one. And then we would switch and take another button. And my thought in your head, you were like, God, for God's sake, just choose the button. I need to go home and go to bed. But then afterwards, now when I think about it, that's like walking the extra mile. When you really get to work with these incredible designers, and the way they were working with every little detail, and to be part of that, now you understand why they became successful. Designers were more nervous than other ones, and some others were more nice than other ones. You understood why they were stressed. So your job was also to kind of support them, to be there, and I'm going to help you here. I'm going to make this look beautiful for you. This is my job. Don't worry. This is going to be great.
Yeah.
So that's also part of the models, we're part of that team, because that's what it is. It's a team, and you're the final person that's going to show it to the world. But you're part of that team of the hairdresser, the makeup, the vision of that. I mean, it's not only the outfit, it's so much else that goes to the thought of it. It was also always that moment after every show when the collection was presented and that happiness, hopefully. And you could see if the designer was, but then you would have to wait for Susie Menke's column to see was it good or bad? Is it thumbs up and thumbs down? Two very creative people with two very strong minds. We all work for free because unfortunately we lost so many friends of ours still in HIV and AIDS epidemic. So it was all the money should go to the research for AIDS. And Thierry Mugler was supposed to direct it. It was his outfits and clothings. And we were working day and night. And I think after 3 days and 3 nights, the budget started to, they were running out of money. and I think George said, no, we can't continue like this. We have to stop it. And it became quite a infectious discussion, and they kind of got into a fight. And Thierry left with all his outfits and clothes from the set. And that's why the whole video is a bit directed by a question mark in the end. For us, there was a lot of other people featured who worked really hard in that video that we can't even see in the last result, unfortunately. So there is some things I think missing in it. When I was like 31, 32, of course, I didn't do all the shows I used to done. I mean, my career was going down and I had a great couple of years. I kind of decided, I'm not going to hang on. I need to do a change. I need to think about what am I going to do next in my life. So it was a very kind of aware decision to, okay, now I'm leaving the modeling and I need to focus on something new. And then, of course, I do some occasional jobs when that came up in Sweden, but I never tried to hang on. It was important for me to do something else. So I went back studying literature science, and I studied business marketing, and I took a degree when I was 37, and then I started my company when I was 40. So I didn't realize when I was ending my modeling career that I 10 years later would start a skincare brand. That kind of developed out of, thank God I have saved money so I could invest in my company. I got my education and the self-confidence to get it through. I met my business partner, who I still have my business with, Nora. So it was from when I was 32 until I was 40, it kind of developed to do that kind of movement, to do that change. And I always liked school. I had good degrees when I was 20, so my plan was to go to university. I didn't think I was going to end up in Paris as a model, which I'm happy I did. But it was kind of like, okay, let's start over again. And the movie industry was fun, but I have full respect for great actors. And I'm not an actress. It was fun with the taxi movies, but it wasn't a plan. I mean, in the 90s and the 80s, we couldn't retouch pictures. It was all on film, of course. I didn't have problem skin, but sometimes, I got help by a dermatologist when I was modeling in Paris. She helped me to find products I could buy at the French pharmacies. And they were really good. They weren't the most expensive one. And so I got kind of picky in what I used, because you really had makeup on and off so many times a day if you do fashion shows and flying. And it was really jeopardizing for the skin. So when I studied and I met Nora, and I was like, okay, so I have a brand known in Scandinavia with my modeling career. What can I do with that to be where I can talk about something that I really know what I like, what kind of products I use, and what kind of products I would like to develop. And so that kind of, at that point, there weren't that many Swedish personal skincare brands in Sweden. It was 15 years ago we launched. And I could see in the States, you had like Bobbi Brown, Laura Mercier. There were some great female entrepreneurs that had done a great journey. So there wasn't anyone in Scandinavia that had really done that. So we found a hole in the market. And also the price positioning. We didn't want to go super expensive, and we didn't go mass market. So we wanted to end in the prestige segment. But it's something that I love because it's something you want to return to every day. So it's very intimate with skincare because every morning you want to come back to that day cream. So how do you develop a day cream that you want to return to? Skincare was something that the interest came from my modeling career. It would not have come to me if I didn't have the modeling, it wouldn't have been skincare. And thanks to the modeling, I'm very grateful because also that's how I made my money. So I saved my money so I could invest in my company. So without my modeling career, this company wouldn't have existed. So yeah, it was super scary. It's always when you have to start a company, you have to invest time and money, and then you have to make it work, sell. So my kids were small. It was only me and Nora starting. We had no employees. I had never done production before, distribution. It was all. But I'm a working person. I love working. I also like to learn new things, and I'm not afraid of learning new things, and I'm not afraid of challenging myself. And I also I'm a bit stupid sometimes, probably because I think I can do that. So it was a lot of work, and it still is. But today I have 15 employees, which is amazing. And we still own the company full on. So we have no investors externally. So we have full control of the company, still me and Nora, which is great as well. And skincare is a great industry. I love the skincare because all we do is hopefully make people feel better with themselves. It's something positive about skincare and taking care of yourself, or finding that little moment, or pampering yourself. It's a great business. But then it has to sell, of course. We work very closely with the marketing as well. So how are we going to talk about this product? Who's it target for? Who's the client? We sell in Scandinavia. We're mainly on the Scandinavian market, and Sweden is our largest market. We do ship to the EU as well, and to the States.